The stars of the Valoran Alliance had always been bright. They shimmered across the black sea of space, symbols of peace, unity, and safety. For centuries, the many races of the Alliance had worked together to create a calm galaxy. No wars, no hunger, no fear, until the day the stars began to die. It started quietly, almost too quietly to notice. A few cargo ships failed to report back. Then entire colonies went silent. Their atmospheres turned toxic overnight. Computers melted, energy grids shut down, and even advanced medical systems failed. The cause was unknown. No virus, no weapon, nothing that made sense. The Valoran scientists called it the Grey Plague. It did not kill with blood or fire, but with silence. Machines stopped. Air turned stale. Crops refused to grow. Entire worlds were left helpless, floating in darkness. In the capital city of DEATHWORLD, the Grand Council gathered in fear. Dozens of alien leaders sat around a shining table made of crystal, their faces pale and eyes full of worry. The council speaker, an elderly being named Sarental, looked at the holographic map that showed the infected systems. Red lights covered half the galaxy. "We must send a call for help," Sarental said with a trembling voice. "Our scientists cannot stop it. We need aid from beyond the Alliance." A murmur spread around the chamber. Asking outsiders for help was unheard of. The Valoran Alliance was the center of civilization, or so they thought. Who would answer us? Asked a tall insectoid from the Rack species. The Rim Empires fear us. The core worlds ignore us. The Dominion would rather see us fall. Sarental pressed his claws together. Then we ask everyone. Every race, every world. We send a signal into deep space. Maybe someone will hear. And so they did. A grand distress beacon was launched, broadcasting in every known frequency. It traveled faster than light, a cry of desperation echoing across thousands of systems. To any species that can hear this, the message said, "This is the Valoran Alliance. We are dying. A plague has taken our systems and worlds. We request medical or scientific aid. We can offer resources, technology, anything. Please, help us." Then they waited. Days turned into weeks. Silence was their only answer. Ships continued to fail. Worlds fell one after another. The Valoran capital itself began to lose power. Sarental could no longer sleep. He would stare out of his window each night, looking at the dimming stars, wondering if the Alliance was about to end. Then one morning, the silence broke. An officer ran into the council chamber. "A response!" he shouted, his voice shaking with disbelief. "We have received a response to the distress call." Every council member turned toward him. "From which system?" Sarental asked quickly. The officer hesitated. "From a planet called Earth." Whispers filled the chamber. No one had ever heard that name. "Check the registry," Sarental ordered. The screen flickered, showing an old star chart. There it was. Earth, located in a forgotten corner of a small spiral arm. The data label read, "Earth, Deathworld Class 5. Native species human, Homo sapiens. Warning, extreme biosphere. Unstable climate. Hostile evolution environment. Avoid contact." The council chamber fell silent again. A death world. The most dangerous kind of planet. "Only monsters survive such worlds. Surely this is an error," said the insectoid Harax. "No intelligent life could evolve there." The officer shook his head. "The message is real, counselor. They claim to be a spacefaring species. They said they want to help." Sarental frowned. "Read their transmission." The holographic speakers activated, and a calm, confident voice filled the chamber. "This is Captain Elias Reyes of the United Earth Fleet. We received your distress signal. We understand you need medical and scientific support. Humanity will respond. We are dispatching a relief vessel, USS Hopebringer. Estimated arrival, 5 standard days." The message ended. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then laughter broke out. Nervous, uncertain laughter. "This must be a joke," one counselor said. "A death world sending a ship called Hopebringer? Impossible, but the data was true. The humans were coming." 5 days later, the skies above DEATHWORLD shimmered with a strange light. The space near the capital's orbital station twisted, and a dark gray vessel dropped out of warp. It was smaller than expected, compact, built with strange armor that looked scorched and scarred. Yet it flew steady and proud, bearing a blue and white symbol of a small planet surrounded by stars. The humans had arrived. Sarental stood at the docking platform, surrounded by guards and scientists. Every being there was tense. Stories about Deathworlders had spread across the galaxy for centuries, creatures that could survive fire, poison, and crushing gravity. Rumors said they were fierce, unpredictable, and wild. When the airlock opened, everyone took a step back. The humans walked out wearing simple suits, faces uncovered, eyes sharp but kind. The one leading them was Captain Elias Reyes, a tall man with tanned skin, calm eyes, and a steady voice. Behind him walked a group of medics, engineers, and scientists, all carrying equipment that glowed faintly blue. Sarental found his voice. "Captain Reyes, welcome to GalacticPrime. We thank you for answering our call." Reyes smiled. "It's our honor, Counselor. Earth received your message. We're here to help." The translator drones buzzed, and every alien on the platform looked at one another in disbelief. The humans spoke with such calm confidence, as if this deadly mission was nothing unusual. The humans began their work immediately. They didn't fear the infected zones. While other species wore full environmental suits, humans only used thin breathing masks. They moved through toxic air like it was normal. Their skin resisted burns. Their hearts beat strong even in low oxygen. The Valoran doctors couldn't understand it. "Are you not afraid?" One of them asked a human medic named Dr. Aisha Malik. Dr. Malik smiled softly. "We come from a planet that tries to kill us every day. Storms, quakes, diseases, predators. We learn to adapt. This is just another challenge." Her words spread through the city like fire. The aliens started whispering. Maybe these humans weren't monsters. Maybe they were survivors. In less than a day, human engineers restored several power cores using simple tools. Their machines were rugged, heavy, and efficient. The Valoran scientists were amazed. "You built this technology on a death world?" they asked. Reyes simply nodded. "Our world is harsh, but it taught us how to build things that last." When a reactor in the lower district began to fail, the local engineers panicked and evacuated. But the humans didn't run. Reyes ordered his team inside despite the heat and the risk of explosion. "Captain," Sarental shouted over the radio, "you cannot go in. It's unstable." "We don't run from problems," Reyes replied. "We fix them." Inside the reactor, the temperature was unbearable, but the humans worked together, sweat dripping, tools clanging. In just 20 minutes, the meltdown was stopped. When they came out, their suits were burned, their faces tired, but they were smiling. The aliens watching from a distance were speechless. One Valoran guard whispered to another. They walked through fire and laughed. That night, as the stars shone faintly above the wounded city, Sarental stood alone on a balcony, watching the human ship in orbit. The USS Hopebringer looked small against the vastness of space, yet it carried a strength unlike anything he had ever seen. His assistant approached quietly. "Counselor, the humans say they can stabilize the remaining systems in 2 days." Sarental nodded slowly. "These humans, they are not what I expected." "No, sir," the assistant said softly. "They are more." Sarental looked at the dark sky and whispered, "Maybe the stories were wrong. Maybe Deathworlders are not monsters, but miracles." Far above, in the bridge of the Hopebringer, Captain Reyes stood by the window, watching the planet below. Dr. Malik joined him, holding a small tablet full of readings. "Progress report?" Reyes asked. "Good," Malik said. "Radiation levels dropping. Power system stable. The Valorans are responding well to treatment." Reyes nodded. "Good, let's keep it up." "The galaxy's watching us now," Malik smiled. "You think they'll trust us?" He looked out into the stars. "If we keep helping, they won't have a choice." Morning came softly over the capital world of GalacticPrime, but the city was still recovering from fear and darkness. The plague had stopped spreading thanks to the humans' quick actions, yet the air carried tension. Aliens walked carefully around the humans who now worked in every major building. Some whispered in corners, others simply stared. The Deathworlders were real, and they were nothing like anyone imagined. Captain Elias Reyes and his crew had divided into teams. Engineers repaired reactors, medics treated the sick, and scientists studied the strange infection that had paralyzed whole systems. The humans moved fast, focused, and efficient. They didn't waste a second, but not everyone was happy to see them. Inside the council hall, the leaders of the Valoran Alliance gathered again. Their faces were mixed, some impressed, others worried. The humans work without rest, said Counselor Girath, a tall amphibian with blue skin. They fix power lines our best engineers couldn't touch. But we know nothing of their motives. Counselor Rethier, from the insectoid Hrax species, hissed softly. They are Deathworlders. Their blood is said to contain toxins. Their planet kills thousands of species every century. Are we sure they are not the cause of this plague? Sarental raised a clawed hand for silence. They came when no one else did, he said firmly. Judge them by their actions, not rumors. Still, even Sarental could not deny the unease. The humans were too calm around danger, too comfortable among broken machines and contaminated air. It was as if they belonged in chaos. Down below, in the lower districts of the city, Dr. Aisha Malik walked through a ruined street. Her medical scanner blinked softly as she stepped over cracked tiles. Beside her walked Lethari, a young Velaran scientist assigned to assist her. His skin shimmered silver blue and he kept a nervous distance. Is it true, Lethari asked carefully, that your planet rains acid sometimes? Aisha laughed lightly. Not acid, no. Just heavy rain. But it can be cold, hot, even full of dust. Earth likes to test us. Your species survived that? Lethari asked in disbelief. Survived it, Aisha said proudly, and learned from it. They reached an old shelter where dozens of alien families had taken refuge. The air was thick with strange gas. Normal medics couldn't stay here long. But Aisha entered without fear. Her suit's filters adjusted instantly, and she knelt beside a small alien child lying weakly on the floor. The child's skin glowed faintly green, a sign of infection. Aisha took out a device the size of her palm and scanned him. It's not contagious, she said softly. The nanites in his blood are failing. They can't handle the energy field the plague creates. Lethari looked lost. Can you fix him? Aisha smiled gently. We'll try. She unpacked a tiny silver box, opened it, and released a swarm of blue lights, nanobots. They moved like dust motes in the air, then entered the child's body. Within seconds, his breathing steadied and the green glow faded. The child blinked, confused but smiling weakly. His mother, trembling, whispered, You saved him. Aisha touched her shoulder. No, he saved himself. I just gave him a little help. The mother bowed deeply, tears shining in her eyes. Lethari watched in awe. When they left the shelter, Lethari couldn't hold his words. You humans, you fix things others can't. You walk into danger like it's nothing. Why? Aisha looked at the ruined skyline. Because no one helped us when our world was dying. We learned to help ourselves. And now, we help others. Meanwhile, aboard the human ship USS Hopebringer, Chief Engineer Ravi Patel studied a holographic model of the Valoran power grid. The plague had infected half of it. Systems shut down the moment they tried to reboot. Patel cracked his knuckles. All right, we can do this the hard way, he muttered. If their computers can't run it, we'll run it manually. His assistant, a young Velaran technician named Elnari, blinked in surprise. Manually? You mean by hand? Yep, Patel said, grinning. That's how we do things on Earth when the fancy stuff fails. Within hours, human engineers were seen crawling through massive pipes, adjusting mechanical valves, and using metal tools the Valorans hadn't used in centuries. It was dirty, old-fashioned work, but it worked. Systems that had been dead for weeks began humming again. From orbit, the lights of Velar Prime flickered back to life, one district at a time. At the same time, Captain Reyes met with Sarental in the Grand Council Hall. The alien leader's expression was both thankful and cautious. You have done more in 5 days than our engineers managed in months, Sarental said. We owe you gratitude. Yet I must ask, why risk so much for strangers? Reyes leaned forward. Because that's what humans do. We can't stand by when someone needs help. But you are Deathworlders, Sarental said. Your world is violent, your environment deadly. Reyes smiled faintly. Yes, our world made us strong but not cruel. We learned to care, because we know what it's like to struggle. We fight nature every day. We survive by helping one another. Sarental stared at him for a long time. Perhaps we misunderstood your kind. Most people do, Reyes said quietly. But we don't blame them. That night the humans worked through a power storm. Violent winds tore through the skies and thunder rolled across the city. While most aliens sheltered indoors, human teams were outside, securing cables and stabilizing shield generators. When a support tower collapsed, crushing part of a building, Several Valorans were trapped inside. Alarm screamed. A rescue drone tried to help, but was damaged by debris. Without hesitation, 3 humans ran toward the wreckage. Sarental arrived at the scene just in time to see Captain Reyes himself, lifting a beam off a pinned alien. His hands bled, his uniform torn, but he didn't stop. The other humans passed survivors down the line, ignoring the burning sparks around them. One Valoran officer shouted, "Captain, it's too dangerous." Reyes grunted, pushing the last beam aside. "Danger is relative," he said. "They're alive. That's what matters." When the last survivor was safe, he finally allowed himself to sit, breathing hard but smiling. The aliens stared in shock. None of them had ever seen such reckless courage or such compassion. The Valoran news network captured it all. Within hours, the footage spread across the entire alliance. Billions watched as the so-called Deathworlders risked their lives to save others. The next morning, the headlines read, "They came from the Death World and saved our children." In the following days, alien attitudes began to change. Shops that once closed when humans walked by now offered them drinks and supplies. Children waved at human soldiers. Even the suspicious counselors began to soften. Still, not everyone was convinced. Deep within the council chambers, Rethir spoke again. "They are powerful, yes. But power brings danger. What if they decide to rule us instead of help us?" Sarental sighed. "Then we will deal with it when it comes. But for now, they have done nothing but good." Outside the city, the humans continued their mission. They studied the plague carefully, discovering something strange. It wasn't natural. It had a structure almost like coded data. Someone had built it. Dr. Malik reported her findings to Reyes. "This plague isn't just a malfunction. It's artificial, like a weapon," Reyes frowned. "A weapon designed to cripple technology but leave organic life alive." "Exactly," Malik said. "It's too precise to be random." Reyes stared at the glowing map. So someone wanted the Valorans helpless. He looked out the window toward the stars. "Find out who." Meanwhile, in the streets below, Lethari followed Dr. Malik again, now full of admiration rather than fear. "I told my family about you," he said. "They didn't believe humans could be so kind." Aisha smiled. "That's okay. Believe me, we've been called worse." He tilted his head. "Why do you laugh so easily, even in danger?" She thought for a moment. "Because laughter keeps us human. On Earth, if you stop laughing, you start giving up. And giving up means dying." Lethari nodded slowly. "Then I will try to learn the laughter." "You'll like it," she said. "It's good for the soul." They both laughed softly, as the stars glowed faintly through the fading storm. At sunset, the humans gathered at the main square. Thousands of Velerans stood around them, cheering and waving banners. The once silent world was alive again. Sarental stood on the balcony above them and raised his voice. "Today we honor those who came when all others stayed away. The humans of Earth, Deathworlders by name but heroes by heart." The crowd roared in approval. Captain Reyes stepped forward, humbled. "We're not heroes," he said. "We're just people who understand what it means to need help." His words echoed through the city, reaching millions of homes. For the first time in history, the name Deathworlder didn't sound like a curse, it sounded like hope. As night fell, the humans looked up at the stars again. They didn't know that far beyond those same stars, dark ships were already watching them. Ships that had created the plague. The real threat was only beginning. The streets of GalacticPrime were alive with movement. Where only days ago silence had ruled, now the city pulsed with activity. Power had returned, medical systems functioned, and the air was clean again. And in the middle of it all, the humans moved like a calm storm, efficient, unafraid, and completely focused. Captain Elias Reyes and his team were everywhere at once. Engineers climbed damaged towers, medics administered treatments to alien citizens, and scientists analyzed the lingering effects of the Grey Plague. Nothing seemed to slow them down. Their presence, once feared, was now a symbol of hope. Yet despite the growing admiration, fear still lingered. Many Valorans, especially older citizens, remembered the stories of Deathworlders, brutal, wild, and impossible to control. Some parents pulled their children aside as humans passed by, warning them to stay distant. The humans, however, neither sought glory nor demanded attention. They simply worked. In the Valoran Science Academy, Dr. Aisha Malik and young Valoran assistant Lithari were studying the city's energy systems. The plague had left many sectors unstable, and even after the humans repaired the worst damage, small anomalies remained. "This is fascinating," Lithari whispered, pointing to the holographic display. "Your methods, they are unlike anything we know. You fix machines that are failing as we watch." Aisha smiled faintly. "We call it improvisation. On Earth, systems fail all the time. We learn to work with what we have, not wait for perfection." Lithari shook his head. "On Earth, your world must be terrifying." Aisha laughed softly. "It is, but it teaches you to survive and to care for others along the way." For a moment, Lithari realized why the humans acted as they did. Their strength wasn't just in skill, it was in experience in surviving a world that tried to kill them at every turn. And with that experience came courage. Courage that no Valoran could truly understand. Meanwhile, Captain Reyes met with Commander Lithari of the Valoran Defense Fleet, not the same as the young assistant. The older Lithari was cautious, a skilled officer who had spent decades commanding fleets. "You humans risk everything without hesitation," the commander said. "Even the strongest Valoran warriors would hesitate where you run forward." Reyes nodded. "We survive because we adapt. Danger is always present on Earth. We've learned that fear slows you down. Courage saves lives." Commander Lithari shook his head, impressed despite himself. "Your confidence is remarkable." Almost reckless, Reyes smiled. "Maybe, but so far it works." As days passed, the humans' actions began to speak louder than words. Wherever they went, small crowds followed, watching silently. When the humans repaired a collapsed water filtration system, alien children clapped and cheered. When they carried supplies through ruined streets, the citizens began helping them voluntarily. The Valoran Council held a meeting to discuss these developments. Serental's voice was calm but firm. "These humans, they were feared, yes, but their deeds show something else entirely. Strength tempered by compassion, courage tempered by care. They are not monsters, they are guardians." Counselor Rethier's antennae twitched nervously. "Guardians? You speak as if they are to be trusted. What if this is a trick?" "They save thousands of lives without asking for reward," Serental replied. "How can that be a trick?" Even Rethier could not find an answer. In one of the ruined districts, Dr. Malik and Lithari found themselves helping with the most challenging cases. Entire neighborhoods had been infected by residual energy fields from the plague. Machines were failing, toxic air lingered, and alien citizens were too weak to move. A child, barely conscious, lay on a bed, trembling. His parents hovered nearby, terrified. Aisha knelt beside him, placing her hand over his chest. Her palm glowed faintly as she adjusted her portable nanobot injector. "Stay calm," she whispered. "We've got you." The child's breathing eased and color returned to his cheeks. Lithari watched in awe. How can you do this?" he asked. No Valoran could approach here safely. Aisha looked at him, eyes calm and determined. "We've lived on worlds where danger is everywhere. We learn to face it, to help even when it's risky. You can too." Lithari realized, as he had the first time he watched her, that humans were different. Their fear was tempered by resolve. Their courage was practical, not reckless, and their compassion was limitless. Word of the humans' actions spread quickly, from the capital to the farthest colonies. Citizens began to speak differently of the Deathworlders. Rumors of danger were replaced with stories of bravery. Songs were sung of humans who healed the sick, restored power, and calmed panicked crowds. Statues were made, depicting simple human faces with kind eyes and strong hands. Valoran children asked to meet them, and humans always obliged. Captain Reyes spent hours speaking to groups of young aliens, telling stories of Earth's harsh worlds. "Life is tough there," he said, "but every challenge teaches you something. Every struggle makes you stronger and helps you understand the value of life." Children listened, wide-eyed, and began repeating his words. Soon the Valoran public started calling them Ironborn, a term from an old legend meaning strong, unbreakable yet honorable. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the city, human and Valoran teams worked together to stabilize an orbital satellite that had gone offline. The Grey Plague had infected its systems, leaving it unstable and dangerous. Commander Lithari watched from the observation deck. Human engineers crawled along the outer hull, moving through the satellite's dangerous exterior without hesitation. Sparks flew and alarms blared, but the humans stayed focused. "They don't fear death," Lithari muttered. "Not like we do." One of the young human engineers, Miguel Santos, called out. "Almost there. Hand me the connector." Another, a human woman named Tanya Lee, extended it through the zero-gravity void. With synchronized precision, they restored the satellite's systems. The lights returned, the hum of life filled the station, and millions of Valoran citizens slept safely below. Commander Lithari could not hide his respect. "If these humans fight like this for us, I wonder what they could do against our enemies." Reyes, standing nearby, looked at him with quiet confidence. "We don't fight for glory. We fight for those who cannot protect themselves." The commander nodded slowly. He understood now these humans were not conquerors. They were caretakers. Not all moments were calm. As humans explored the ruins of the city, they discovered strange energy patterns left by the plague. Dr. Malik analyzed the readings and confirmed her fears. The plague was artificial, designed by an unknown enemy to target Valoran technology specifically. "This wasn't random," she said to Captain Reyes. "Someone wanted to cripple them without killing their population." "It's a weapon." Reyes frowned, his jaw tight. "And they failed. We'll make sure they fail again if they try." Meanwhile, Valoran soldiers who had once distrusted humans began training alongside them. They watched how humans adapted to dangerous environments, how they repaired systems under fire, and how they healed the sick without hesitation. Slowly, admiration replaced fear. Humans were no longer seen as threats, they were examples. Even the children learned from them. Small groups followed human teams into the field, mimicking their movements, listening to their instructions. Dr. Malik smiled as a young Valoran boy carried a small medkit and applied it carefully to an injured citizen. "See, they are learning," she said. "That is how we build hope." By the end of the week, the Valoran Council could no longer deny the truth. The humans had turned fear into respect. Entire districts, once silent and desolate, now buzzed with life. Hospitals were operating at full capacity, power grids were stabilized, and most importantly, citizens spoke of humans with admiration, not terror. Saren Taal, observing from his balcony, nodded slowly. "They have shown us what courage truly means," he said. "What kindness truly means. The Deathworlders of Earth. They are unlike anything we imagined." In orbit, the USS Hopebringer prepared for the next mission. Captain Reyes stood at the bridge window looking at the world below. "Progress is good," he said quietly. "But this plague, it's only part of the story. Whoever did this is still out there. We need to find them." Dr. Malik, standing beside him, nodded. "Yes, but today we gave hope to a world that had none." Reyes smiled faintly. "Then we keep moving, step by step, world by world. That's what humans do." Far beyond the Valoran system, silent observers took note. The humans' actions were not going unnoticed. Their courage, skill, and compassion had turned the galaxy's expectations upside down. The Deathworlders were no longer a feared myth. They were an example. And any enemy watching now would learn a simple truth. Humans did not give up, and humans did not back down. The stars above Velar Prime twinkled gently, reflecting the renewed life below. From fear to respect, the humans had changed everything, and yet in the shadows beyond known space, a dark intelligence stirred, aware that the Ironborn of Earth had arrived. The real challenge was coming. The Valoran capital world floated quietly under a golden sun, but the air was filled with tension. The humans had done what no one else could, stopped the plague, restored power grids, and saved cities from collapse. Yet something felt wrong. Captain Reyes stood in the command chamber beside Commander Lithari, watching the holographic map of nearby systems. Strange energy signals flickered around the border zones. It looked like the storm was gone, but new shadows were appearing. Dr. Aisha Malik walked in holding a data tablet. Her face looked tired but focused. "Captain," she said softly, "I finished the genome trace. The plague wasn't natural. Someone made it." The words hit like thunder. Lithari's frilled crest tightened. "You mean it was a weapon?" Aisha nodded. "Every sample shows signs of engineered code. The molecular sequences were too perfect. And the control patterns. It's like a machine virus for biology. Someone designed it to destroy life that relies on oxygen filtration systems." Reyes frowned deeply. "Who would do something like that?" Lithari's eyes darkened. Only one empire has the knowledge and the cruelty. The Karn Dominion. The humans had heard that name before, whispers from old galactic archives. The Karn were known for their cold efficiency, never using brute force when they could use fear. They conquered by breaking systems before battles began. Reyes turned to his crew. Then we need proof. We can't accuse anyone without it. The investigation for the next 3 days, human and Velaran scientists worked side by side. Aisha led the biological research while Lieutenant Vega handled digital analysis. The humans were fast, calm, and clever, finding patterns the Velarans had missed for months. Inside the dim data lab, holograms shimmered like ghosts. Vega connected code fragments, muttering. They used triple encryption, but they left a signature trace. Aisha leaned over. Signature trace? Yeah, Vega replied, tapping the screen. Every virus has a command signature, like handwriting. This one matches old Karn cyber weapons. Look here. Karn Fleet Intelligence Node 12. Aisha's eyes widened. So it's confirmed. They sent the data to Captain Reyes and Lithari. When the confirmation appeared, the entire room fell silent. The plague that almost wiped out the Velarans was an attack, the fear. The news spread fast. Across the Valoran worlds, panic returned. People whispered that the Karn would come to finish what they started. In the council chamber, Velaran leaders argued. We must surrender, one shouted. They will destroy us if we resist, cried another. We have no fleets left, our ships are still under repair. The fear was strong, but then Captain Reyes stood up. His voice was calm, strong, and full of quiet confidence. You don't need to surrender. You need to prepare. The Velarans stared at him. You plan to fight the Karn? Asked one counselor. Reyes smiled faintly. No, we plan to stop them before the fight even begins. Lithari tilted his head. How? Their ships outnumber yours 100 to 1. They have advanced weapons. Reyes looked at his officers. Humans come from a world that tried to kill us every day. Poison, storms, predators, you name it. We learn to survive not by strength alone, but by using our brains. If the Karn want a war, we'll give them confusion instead. Building defenses in the days that followed, human and Velaran engineers worked together under Reyes's command. The humans didn't build new warships. They built traps. They placed EMP grids in orbit invisible to scanners. They launched radiation-reflecting satellites that could disrupt Karn sensors. They installed decoy stations sending fake distress signals to lure enemies away. It wasn't a wall, it was a web. Lithari watched in awe as the humans turned chaos into defense. You're building illusions? He asked. Reyes grinned. Exactly. Make the enemy see what we want them to see. That's how humans survived predators. When we couldn't fight, we confused them. Dr. Aisha trained Velaran medics on emergency procedures. Even if we're attacked, you'll know how to protect your people, she said gently. No one gets left behind. The aliens began to see that humans weren't monsters, they were protectors. The arrival of the Karn 1 week later, alarms rang across the orbital stations. Karn fleets were detected on long-range scanners, dark ships with spiked hulls moving in silence. The council panicked again. They are here! Someone screamed. Reyes simply stood tall. Let them come. He turned to his crew. Activate Phase 1. From orbit, invisible energy pulses rippled out. The EMP grids came alive. One by one, the Karn ships began to lose navigation. Their lights flickered. Their formation broke apart. Inside the Karn flagship, confusion spread. Systems failing. Guidance offline. From the Valoran control room, everyone watched in disbelief. The mighty Karn armada was stumbling in chaos before firing a single shot. Reyes crossed his arms. That's for starting a war with civilians. The humans moved to Phase 2, releasing small, non-lethal interference drones. The drones created false readings, making the Karn think hundreds of battleships were waiting in ambush. Panic spread through the Karn fleet. They began firing at empty space. Lithari laughed out loud. They're attacking ghosts. Reyes smiled. Classic human strategy. Make the enemy fight their own fear. The turning point, as the chaos unfolded, the Valoran Council watched in awe. No one had died. No cities were destroyed. And yet the enemy was being defeated. The human ship USS Hopebringer sent a message directly to the Karn flagship. This is Captain Reyes of Earth. We know what you did. You attacked the weak. If you ever return, we won't stop you with tricks. We'll stop you for good. Leave now. The message was calm, without threats, just truth. Minutes later, the Karn ships turned away, their engines flashing as they retreated into deep space. The entire Valoran capital erupted in cheers. For the first time in centuries, the Karn Dominion had been humiliated without a single battle. Aftermath. That night, the city lights of Valora Prime glowed like stars. In the Grand Hall, the Council invited the humans to stand before them. "Captain Reyes," said the Grand Counselor, bowing deeply, "you have saved our people not only from death, but from despair. You brought hope when all others fled." Reyes shook his head humbly. "We didn't do it alone. Your people worked with us. You faced your fears. That's what matters." Aisha smiled at the alien children waving small Earth flags. "Maybe the galaxy isn't so different from home," she whispered. Lithari turned to Reyes. "We always thought Deathworlders were beasts of war. But now I see, you are guardians." Reyes looked at the stars through the glass dome. "Earth made us strong, yes, but strength means nothing without kindness." The message to Earth later in the communication chamber. Reyes recorded a message for Earth Command. "Mission report, the Valoran crisis is over. The plague was an act of war by the Karn Dominion. No human casualties. Enemy retreated after strategic interference. I recommend continued cooperation with the Valorans. They've learned what humanity truly stands for: hope, courage, and compassion. Sometimes to save others we don't need weapons, just the will to try." He ended the transmission and looked out into the void. The stars shone brighter now, like the galaxy itself had exhaled in relief. A new beginning. The Valoran Alliance declared a new holiday. Day of Hope, honoring the humans who came when no one else did. Dr. Aisha stayed behind to help rebuild hospitals. Vega trained young Valoran engineers in human problem-solving methods, and Captain Reyes prepared the USS Hopebringer for its next journey. Before leaving, Lithari placed his clawed hand on Reyes's shoulder. "Your people came from a world of storms and death," he said, "but you brought peace to the stars. The galaxy will never forget the Deathworlders of Earth." Reyes smiled gently. "We don't come to conquer, Commander. We come to help." As the ship lifted off, the Valorans watched it disappear into the sky, leaving behind trails of blue light. For the first time in their history, they believed that strength could be kind, and that even the fiercest world in the galaxy could produce hearts of gold. The galaxy had changed. In the weeks that followed the Karn Dominion's retreat, news of the humans' deeds spread faster than any warp signal. Across the Valoran Alliance and beyond, creatures of every shape and size whispered stories of Earth's Deathworlders, the ones who had walked through fire, risked life, and yet showed mercy. The Valoran capital was alive with celebration. Streets once damaged by the Grey Plague now glimmered with lanterns, banners, and murals depicting humans helping aliens. Children ran alongside humans, imitating their careful movements, copying their laughter, and learning the strength that came from courage and compassion. Even the council could not contain their awe. Serental, the Grand Counselor, stood before a crowd that stretched across the palace steps. "We have seen wonders," he said, voice trembling. "When all others fled, the humans of Earth came. They are not just survivors of a harsh world, they are guardians of life, healing the wounds, Doctor." Aisha Malik worked tirelessly in the rebuilt hospitals, accompanied by Valoran nurses and doctors she had trained. The plague had left emotional scars as well as physical ones. Many citizens were afraid to touch their friends or eat freely, fearing contamination. Aisha moved among them with gentle words and patience. "You are safe now," she said. "We are here with you. We will make sure no one is left behind." She watched as a small Valoran child, who had been gravely ill during the plague, ran toward her holding a tiny bouquet of glowing flowers. His parents smiled, relief etched on their faces. "You saved my son," the mother whispered. "I will never forget you." Aisha only nodded, smiling. "You didn't just let me help him, you believed." That made the difference. Even Lithari, her young assistant, now moved confidently through the hospital, carrying supplies and assisting patients with care he had learned from humans. "I understand now," he said softly. "Strength is not only in power, it is in patience, kindness, and courage." Teaching the galaxy beyond the hospitals, human engineers and scientists continued their work. They didn't just repair systems, they taught Valoran citizens how to think differently, how to improvise, how to stay calm under pressure, how to use intelligence to solve problems instead of fear. Captain Reyes met with Councillor Rethier one afternoon in the council hall. The Harax had been wary from the beginning. His eyes cautious, I admit, Rethier said slowly. I feared your kind. I believed the stories. But now, I see. You are more than anyone imagined. Reyes nodded. We're not perfect. We make mistakes. But we try to help and we never give up on life. That's what matters. Rethier's antennae twitched. Then you are examples. The galaxy needs more like you. Yes, Reyes agreed. We came to help the Valorans. But the lesson is bigger than one species. Every being capable of kindness can change the galaxy. Rebuilding trust, the humans didn't stop at Velar Prime. They traveled to smaller colonies, each crippled by the Grey Plague. Wherever they went, fear turned to hope. Aliens who had doubted them now followed, learning, imitating, and smiling. One day, a small fleet of Valoran scouts approached the humans. They carried gifts, technology samples, rare minerals, and letters of thanks. Commander Lethari, standing with Captain Reyes, shook his head in disbelief. They want to repay you, Reyes smiled. No one owes us anything. We were taught to help, because it is the right thing to do. That's enough reward. But even he could not hide the satisfaction in his heart. Humans had proven that strength could be gentle, courage could be compassionate, and survival could be noble. A message for the galaxy, the Velaran Council, in a historic decision, invited Captain Reyes to record a message for all member species. We came from a planet that tested us every day, Reyes said, standing aboard the USS Hopebringer. Our world taught us survival, yes, but it also taught us compassion. We fight not for glory, not for power, but to protect those who cannot protect themselves. If the galaxy learns anything from Earth, let it be this. Strength is measured by courage, compassion, and perseverance. We do not conquer, we help. Today, the Velaran Alliance lives because of cooperation, courage, and trust. Tomorrow, may all worlds live by the same values. The message broadcast across systems, across species, across borders once divided by fear and misunderstanding. And slowly, the name Deathworlders stopped meaning monsters. It began to mean heroes. Leaving a legacy weeks later, the humans prepared to leave Velar Prime. Ships were repaired, systems stabilized, and the remaining plague traces neutralized. Citizens gathered along streets, waving and cheering. Children held hand-painted signs, "Thank you, Ironborn." Sarental addressed the crowd. Though they leave our skies, they will remain in our hearts. The humans of Earth, once feared, now revered, have shown us what is possible when courage and kindness combine. Dr. Malik knelt beside a group of Valoran children. Remember, she said softly, you are capable of greatness. You can survive challenges, help others, and face fear with courage. That is what the humans taught you. Even young Lethari hugged her tightly. I will not forget, he said. Captain Reyes watched from the bridge of the Hopebringer, observing the cheering citizens below. The galaxy learned a lesson, he said to his crew, and it didn't cost a single life unnecessarily. That's the way humanity survives, through skill, courage, and compassion. An ominous reminder as the ship lifted off. Gliding through the upper atmosphere and into space, the humans did not know they were watched. Far beyond the outer rim, Karn scouts observed from the shadows. The Grey Plague had failed. Their arrogance had been exposed. The Deathworlders had not only saved lives, they had humiliated the Dominion. And somewhere deep in the void, the Karn Dominion realized a truth that would stay with them forever. Humans were unpredictable, unstoppable when united by purpose, and capable of strategies that no algorithm or weapon could defeat. For the first time, the Dominion feared a species they had never truly understood. Humanity's gift, the USS Hopebringer, exited the Velaran system. Stars streaked past as the ship entered warp. Captain Reyes stood at the window thinking of Earth, the humans' home planet, a world of storms, deserts, jungles, and oceans. A world that had trained its people in survival, not through fear, but through persistence, innovation, and compassion. Dr. Malik joined him. Do you think they will remember us? She asked. They will, Reyes said quietly. Not just as humans, but as a reminder of what can happen when strength meets kindness. The galaxy will remember the Deathworlders of Earth. Vega, looking at the charts, nodded. And the next time someone faces a crisis, they will know what to expect from humans. Reyes smiled faintly. Exactly. Hope is contagious. And now, the stars have a little more of it. A galaxy-inspired back on Velar Prime, a monument was unveiled, a simple statue of a human figure holding a glowing orb. Below it, an inscription read, "To humanity, the Deathworlders who brought hope. When all others fled, they came. When fear ruled, they taught courage. When the galaxy doubted, they showed the way." Children circled the monument, pointing to it, imagining themselves as humans. Adults whispered stories of the Ironborn who had walked through fire and healed their people. And somewhere, across distant worlds, other species watched the transmissions, wondering, learning, and starting to believe. Strength could be kind. Courage could be compassionate. Survival could be noble. And humanity, born from a harsh, violent world, had shown the galaxy the way. Final words. Captain Reyes looked at the stars once more. "The work isn't finished," he said. "The galaxy is big and there will always be challenges. But we don't fight for power. We fight for life. We fight for hope," Dr. Malik smiled, "and the galaxy will remember." As the Hopebringer disappeared into the starlit void, one truth was clear. Humans had arrived, not as conquerors, not as monsters, but as legends.